All right, so we're diving into prepping for an ICT Capacity Planner interview. And, it's a pretty crucial role nowadays. You're like the architect of a company's digital world, making sure everything runs smoothly no matter the data load.
Yeah, it's like being the digital traffic controller, I guess, making sure all the data gets where it needs to go,
Yeah,
efficiently and on time.
exactly. And you've already sent over some sample interview questions you're expecting. Plus, we've got some great resources from RoleCatcher to look at, which is a platform that helps people land their dream jobs.
Yeah, RoleCatcher is great for understanding not just what the job entails, but also you know how to really showcase your skills to get that job. So they define an ICT capacity planner as someone who ensures ICT services and infrastructure can meet performance targets efficiently and cost effectively.
So balancing performance with costs.
Sure.
Makes sense. They also break down the career path into different levels: entry level, junior, regular ICT capacity planner, and then senior. It seems like the responsibilities increase at each stage.
Absolutely. At the entry level, you might be assisting with data collection and analysis, just getting a feel for the tools and processes. As a junior capacity planner, you might start leading smaller projects, maybe focusing on a specific area like network or storage capacity. Then, as you progress to a full ICT capacity planner, you're responsible for developing those comprehensive capacity plans, collaborating across teams, and making sure everything aligns with the business strategy.
And at the senior level, I imagine you're mentoring others, leading those major initiatives, maybe even influencing the company's overall tech strategy.
Exactly. It's a career path with a lot of room for growth and specialization. But let's get down to it and look at those sample interview questions you shared.
Yeah, the first one is describe your experience with ICT capacity planning. Seems simple enough. But I bet there's more to it than meets the eye.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The interviewer is not just looking for a list of projects. They want to see that you understand the core principles of capacity planning. You know how you approach problems and what kind of impact you've actually had in previous roles.
So how would you suggest tackling a question like this?
RoleCatcher recommends using the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. It helps you frame your experience in a clear and concise way that highlights your accomplishments. For example, instead of just saying, I worked on a project to upgrade our server infrastructure, you could say something like, our company was experiencing performance issues due to an outdated server infrastructure. My task was to assess the current capacity and develop a plan for an upgrade. I worked with the IT team to analyze usage patterns, forecast future needs, and select new hardware. As a result, we successfully implemented the upgrade, improving application performance by 25% and reducing downtime by 10%.
Wow, that's a much stronger answer. Quantifying the results really makes it stand out.
It does. And remember to tailor your examples to the specific level you're interviewing for. If you're entry level, focus on your contributions to larger projects. If you're more experienced, highlight initiatives you led and the strategic decisions you made.
It's about showcasing your growth and proving you can handle the role. Okay, here's one that's super relevant today. What is your experience with cloud computing capacity planning?
That's a big one. So many businesses are moving to the cloud. Interviewers want to know you can handle capacity planning in that environment. This is where your experience with platforms like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud comes in. Talk about specific projects where you had to assess cloud capacity, optimize resource allocation, or even migrate systems to the cloud.
RoleCatcher's Career Guide mentions how important cloud computing is becoming. So this is your chance to really shine if you have experience in this area.
Absolutely. And again, focus on those quantifiable results. Did you reduce costs by implementing a more efficient cloud architecture? Did you improve application performance by scaling resources effectively? Those details can really impress the interviewer.
This reminds me of something in the RoleCatcher Guide about showcasing your capabilities.
Right.
Beyond just listing skills on your resume, they talk about building a portfolio of projects
Yeah,
and contributing to industry blogs. Would those things be helpful to mention here?
definitely. Having a portfolio to back up your claims is a big plus. It shows initiative and genuine interest in the field. Even contributing to blogs or online forums demonstrates your expertise and willingness to share knowledge.
Great points. Okay, on to the next question. What is your experience with network capacity planning? This one seems a bit more specialized.
It is, but it's still a fundamental part of ICT capacity planning. The interviewer wants to know you understand network infrastructure and how to ensure smooth data flow. Think about projects where you've analyzed network traffic patterns, implemented upgrades to increase capacity, or even designed new network architectures.
So it's not just about knowing how networks work, it's about anticipating bottlenecks and preventing them.
Exactly. Here's a question for you to think about. How have you stayed up to date with network technologies? The field's constantly evolving. Interviewers will be impressed if you can demonstrate your knowledge of emerging trends, like SDN, NFV, or 5G.
It's about showing that you're a continuous learner, always adapting and expanding your skill set. That's something RoleCatcher emphasizes a lot. They talk about attending industry conferences, taking online courses, and staying active in professional communities.
Those are all great ways to stay ahead of the curve. Now let's shift gears a bit and look at a question that focuses on your process. How do you approach capacity planning for a new project?
This one seems more about your methodology and how you think strategically.
Yeah, you're right. The interviewer is looking for a structured approach, not just reacting to problems. RoleCatcher highlights the importance of gathering requirements, collaborating with stakeholders, and developing a clear plan, one that aligns with project goals and timelines.
So walk them through your typical steps. How do you assess the scope of the project and its capacity demands? How do you factor in future growth and potential changes in user behavior?
Right, and don't be afraid to get specific about the tools and techniques you use. Do you employ modeling software, performance monitoring tools, or even spreadsheets for tracking key metrics? Those details show your hands-on experience.
I bet they also want to see that you can adapt your approach based on the project's needs.
For sure. Here's another thought. How do you ensure that your capacity plan stays flexible and adaptable throughout the entire project lifecycle? Because as we all know, things rarely go exactly as planned.
That's a great point. Okay, we've covered a good amount already, but I think we have time for one more question. How do you measure and monitor capacity utilization?
This gets to the heart of tracking the effectiveness of your capacity planning efforts. The interviewer wants to see that you understand those key metrics, can interpret the data, and identify potential issues before they affect service delivery. It's about being proactive rather than reactive.
It's like you're a detective, looking for clues in the data to spot a future capacity crunch.
That's a good way to put it. You need to analyze those trends and patterns to get insights into how resources are being used, and then anticipate future needs. This is where knowing those key metrics is crucial. Things like CPU utilization, network bandwidth, storage capacity, and other relevant data points.
Right, and RoleCatcher's advice is to avoid just throwing out technical jargon. You need to be able to explain things clearly and show you can communicate those insights to non-techno folks as well.
Exactly. Think about explaining how you use those metrics to generate reports and communicate findings to different audiences. Maybe you've had to present capacity recommendations to senior management or explain technical details to a non-technical team. Those are valuable experiences to highlight.
Okay, moving on to a question that's all about accountability. How do you ensure that you are meeting SLAs for capacity planning? I have to admit, I'm not totally sure what SLAs are.
Oh yeah, good point. It's easy to assume everyone knows these acronyms. SLAs stand for Service Level Agreements. They're basically contracts, outlining the level of service a provider will deliver. So in the context of capacity planning, SLAs might specify things like maximum downtime, minimum performance thresholds, or response times for critical issues.
So it's about making sure the systems and services you're responsible for are meeting those standards.
Exactly. The interviewer wants to know that you understand their importance and that you have a system in place to monitor compliance. RoleCatcher suggests talking about your process for setting realistic SLAs, tracking performance against those targets, and proactively addressing any potential breaches.
And it's probably a good idea to have a story ready about a time you faced a challenge in meeting an SLA and how you resolved it.
Definitely. Describe how you analyzed the root cause, implemented corrective actions, and ultimately prevented it from happening again. It shows you're not just a planner, you're a problem solver.
Now a question I bet every tech professional gets. How do you ensure that you are staying up to date with new technologies and trends in capacity planning?
Ah, yes, the ever-changing world of tech. This question is about highlighting your commitment to continuous learning and professional development.
RoleCatcher has a ton of great advice on this. They suggest talking about conferences you attend, online courses you take, certifications you're pursuing, or even just staying active in online forums and communities. They specifically mention the value of being part of relevant LinkedIn groups or following thought leaders on Twitter.
All great ways to stay informed. Be specific, too. Maybe mention some recent advancements that have caught your eye, like the growing role of AI in capacity management or the rise of serverless computing.
Right, it's not just about saying you're keeping up. It's about showing that you're actively seeking new knowledge and exploring how to enhance your capacity planning strategies. Now let's tackle a scenario-based question. Describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a capacity-related issue.
This is another chance to use the STAR method. Choose an example that shows off your technical skills and your ability to work under pressure. Did you have to diagnose a performance bottleneck quickly, collaborate with other teams to find a workaround, or maybe even escalate the issue to senior management?
It's all about showcasing your problem-solving process. How do you gather information, identify the root cause, and implement a solution?
And don't forget about the outcome. Did your actions restore service within the SLA? Did you identify a process improvement to prevent similar issues?
It's about learning from those tough situations. Okay, now for a classic planning dilemma. How do you prioritize capacity planning tasks when faced with competing demands? I feel like this happens all the time.
It's the reality of the job. The interviewer is checking if you can juggle priorities, assess risks, and allocate resources wisely. RoleCatcher advises against saying you just work harder or do everything yourself. Instead, talk about your process for evaluating tasks, assigning priority levels, and communicating clearly with stakeholders about timelines and expectations.
So maybe mention some specific methods you use, like the Eisenhower matrix or the Moscow method,
Yeah.
to help structure your prioritization.
Exactly. And don't shy away from talking about those tough decisions, like when you have to push back on a request or adjust a timeline because of limited resources.
It's about being honest about the constraints, but showing you can still make informed decisions and communicate them effectively. Okay, here's a question that seems a bit trickier. How do you handle pushback from stakeholders when proposing capacity upgrades?
This one's all about your communication and persuasion skills. Capacity upgrades often cost a lot, so you need to be able to articulate the value of your recommendations and get buy-in from the people making the decisions.
So what's the best way to approach this?
RoleCatcher suggests focusing on data-driven arguments. Instead of just saying, we need more servers, present a clear case for the upgrade. Back it up with evidence of current capacity constraints, performance issues, or projected growth. Show them what could happen if they don't act, like lost revenue, unhappy customers, or security risks.
And maybe have an example of a time you successfully persuaded stakeholders to invest in an upgrade. Highlight how you presented your case, address their concerns, and got their approval.
Exactly. It's all about being persuasive and building consensus.
Now on to a question that's a bit more personal. How do you stay motivated when working on long-term capacity planning projects?
Yeah, I can see how that could be tough. Capacity planning often means looking months or years ahead. It might be hard to stay engaged when you don't see immediate results.
Exactly.
But this question is a chance to show your passion for the field and your ability to see the big picture.
So how do you suggest answering it?
RoleCatcher says to emphasize your interest in the strategic side of capacity planning. Talk about your love of technology, your drive to solve complex problems, or your satisfaction in ensuring smooth operations for the business. You could also mention how you break down big projects into smaller milestones to help stay focused and motivated.
And maybe talk about celebrating those small wins along the way to recognize progress and keep the team energized.
That's a great idea. It shows you understand the importance of maintaining momentum and celebrating achievements even in long-term projects.
Okay, we've covered a lot in this section. We've looked at measuring capacity utilization, meeting SLAs, staying up to date, troubleshooting issues, prioritizing tasks, handling pushback, and staying motivated, feeling prepared. Yeah, my brain's definitely full, but in a good way. I feel like we've uncovered so many great tips already.
We have, but we haven't even talked about RoleCatcher's AI tools yet. Those can give you a real advantage in your job search.
Oh, right. I remember reading about their CV resume builder and the AI feedback on practice interview questions.
Those tools are designed to help you stand out from the crowd. Tailor your application and your interview skills to each specific job. Remember, you're often competing with hundreds of other applicants, so anything you can do to make a strong impression is crucial.
So how does this AI stuff actually work?
Well, the CV Resume Builder uses AI to analyze job descriptions. It finds those keywords and phrases that recruiters and hiring managers are looking for. It also helps you structure your resume to highlight your most relevant skills. It's like having a personal career coach who knows exactly what employers want.
So it's not just about listing your skills. It's about presenting them in a way that the algorithms and the hiring managers will understand.
Exactly. It's about speaking their language and showing your value.
And what about the AI feedback on practice interview questions?
You can actually record yourself answering common interview questions. Then RoleCatcher's AI will analyze your response. It gives you feedback on your content, your delivery, even your body language. It can pick up on things like rambling, using too much jargon, or not making eye contact. It's like a virtual mock interview with an expert.
Wow, that sounds incredibly helpful. It takes the guesswork out of interview prep.
Exactly. The goal isn't just to know the right answers. It's about coming across as confident, articulate, and genuinely interested. RoleCatcher's AI tools can definitely help with that.
So to sum up, we've explored what an ICT capacity planner does, the different stages of their career, and how to answer those tough interview questions. We've also talked about showcasing your results, staying up to date with the latest trends, and using RoleCatcher's AI tools to really polish your application and interview skills.
You've got a great foundation now for acing that interview and landing your dream job. But remember, this is just the start.
Right. RoleCatcher also talks about networking and continuous learning as being essential for building a successful career in this field.
Absolutely. Attend industry events, connect with other professionals, and never stop learning. That's how you'll stay ahead of the game and become a leader in this exciting and constantly evolving field.
So go out there and impress those interviewers.
Yeah.
Use all the tools and advice we've talked about and build an amazing career in ICT capacity planning. You've got
Yeah.
this